Saturday night. It's about 9:40. I guess it is 9:46. My name's Ken Tracy. Just got home from work a little bit ago. Gonna do my Bible reading for you tonight. Just about maybe over 2 months ago now, I started reading the Bible, and I just kind of wanted to give it a try. My daughters bought me one for Father's Day, and I read 2 chapters one night and went to church and kind of was all fired up and inspired and told people, because I was super excited, that I was reading the Bible. And here we are 2 months later, and I've been reading 2 chapters a night, and I just looked at what we're reading tonight, and I'm going to be reading from the book of Numbers, chapter 29 and 30 for you tonight. And honestly, I look at the title of chapter 29, and I don't know, it's chapter 29 is titled something about the offerings of the trumpet ceremony or something like that. After reading the last few days, and honestly, several chapters, even whole books of the Old Testament, I wonder what its value is. I don't feel it's written by God. I don't think they're God's words. I think they were written by an amazingly uptight group of men in a very dark time in the world's history, when there was evil and cruelty and all sorts of horrible things going on in the world. And I don't think these words should be taken, I hate to say it, it's going to sound sacrilegious. I mean, I almost don't even take the words of the Old Testament seriously at all. Last chapter, I don't know, there was a guy picking up sticks. God commanded all the Israelites to stone him because he was doing it on a Sabbath. So I just don't even believe that, even slightly. So I'm sitting here wanting to read the Bible cover to cover and still committed to doing that. But I can't help but wonder, why is the Bible sold together? Why is there an Old Testament attached to the New Testament? I'm hoping that the New Testament is drastically different than the Old, because I'm not finding the Old Testament of any spiritual value or holy words at all. And I can't even, I sit here, and I only say it because I'm educated, because I've spent the last 2 months, I'd actually say, wasting time. I've been wasting 15 minutes every night reading 2 chapters from a book that I think is not holy or spiritual at all, and I don't put any value in at all. And I'm going to be reading chapter 29, and I'm going to be bored to death by the end, and you guys are going to be bored to death by the end, because I'm going to read exactly the rules of what type of bull needs to be sacrificed and how it's supposed to be treated, and is it going to be a pleasing aroma to the Lord. And let me tell you, the God that I pray to every night doesn't care about pleasing aromas at all. So, without further ado, and given that introduction, which couldn't be less of a positive review, and I say that as somebody educated who spent the last 2 months reading it 2 chapters at a time and going, what the heck am I reading here? So without further ado, and I don't want to taint your opinion, I'm going to read it, and because I said I would. And I'm hoping that I find the New Testament of the Bible a whole lot more uplifting, spiritual, holy, meaningful, life-changing, because I can't tell you how painful it is to be reading the Old Testament. So again, without further ado, chapter 29. Offerings for the Feast of the Trumpets. On the first day of the 7th month, you shall have a holy convocation. You shall not do any ordinary work. It is a day for you to blow the trumpets, and you shall offer a burnt offering for a pleasing aroma to the Lord. 1 bull from the herd, 1 ram, 7 male lambs, a year old without blemish, also their grain offering of fine flour mixed with oil, 3/10 of an ephah for the bull, 2/10 for the ram, and 1/10 for each of the 7 lambs, with 1 male goat for a sin offering, to make atonement for you. Besides the burnt offering of the new moon, and its grain offering, and the regular burnt offering and its grain offering, and their drink offering, according to the rule for them, for a pleasing aroma, a food offering to the Lord. Offerings for the Day of Atonement. On the 10th day of this 7th month, you shall have a holy convocation and afflict yourselves. You shall do no work, but you shall offer a burnt offering to the Lord, a pleasing aroma, 1 bull from the herd, 1 ram, 7 male lambs a year old. See that they are without blemish. And their grain offering shall be of fine flour mixed with oil, 3/10 of an ephah for the bull, 2/10 for the 1 ram, and 1/10 for each of the 7 lambs. Also 1 male goat for a sin offering, besides the sin offering of atonement, and the regular burnt offering and its grain offering, and their drink offerings. Offerings for the Feast of Booths. On the 15th day of the 7th month, you shall have a holy convocation. You shall not do any ordinary work, and you shall keep a feast to the Lord 7 days. And you shall offer a burnt offering, a food offering with a pleasing aroma to the Lord, 13 bulls from the herd, 2 rams, 14 male lambs a year old, they shall be without blemish, and their grain offering of fine flour mixed with oil, 3/10 of an ephah for each of the 13 bulls, 2/10 for each of the 2 rams, and 1/10 for each of the 14 lambs. Also 1 male goat for a sin offering, besides the regular burnt offering, its grain offering, and its drink offering. On the 2nd day, 12 bulls from the herd, 2 rams, 14 male lambs a year old without blemish, with the grain offerings and the drink offerings for the bulls, for the rams and for the lambs, in the prescribed quantities. Also 1 male goat for a sin offering, besides the regular burnt offering and its grain offering and their drink offerings. On the 3rd day, 11 bulls, 2 rams, 14 lambs a year old without blemish, with the grain offering and the drink offerings for the bulls, for the rams and for the lambs, in the prescribed quantities. Also 1 male goat for a sin offering, besides the regular burnt offering and its grain offering and its drink offering. On the 4th day, 10 bulls, 2 rams, 14 male lambs a year old without blemish, with the grain offering and the drink offering for the bulls, for the rams, and for the lambs, in the prescribed quantities. Also 1 male goat for a sin offering, besides the regular burnt offering, its grain offering, and its drink offering. On the 5th day, 9 bulls, 2 rams, 14 male lambs a year old without blemish, with the grain offering and the drink offerings for the bulls, for the rams, and for the lambs in the prescribed quantities. Also 1 male goat for a sin offering, besides the regular burnt offering, and its grain offering, and its drink offering. On the 6th day, 8 bulls, 2 rams, 14 male lambs a year old without blemish, with the grain offering and the drink offering for the bulls, for the rams, and for the lambs, in the prescribed quantities. Also 1 male goat for a sin offering, besides the regular burnt offering, its grain offering, and its drink offerings. On the 7th day, 7 bulls, 2 rams, 14 male lambs a year old without blemish, with the grain offering and the drink offerings for the bulls, for the rams, and for the lambs, in the prescribed quantities. Also 1 male goat for a sin offering, besides the regular burnt offering, its grain offering, and its drink offering. On the 8th day you shall have a solemn assembly. You shall not do any ordinary work, but you shall offer a burnt offering, a food offering, with a pleasing aroma to the Lord, 1 bull, 1 ram, 7 male lambs a year old without blemish, and the grain offering and the drink offering for the bull, for the ram, and for the lambs, in the prescribed quantities. Also 1 male goat for a sin offering, besides the regular burnt offering, and its grain offering, and its drink offering. These you shall offer to the Lord at your appointed feasts, in addition to your vow offerings and your free will offerings, and your burnt offerings, and your grain offerings, and for your drink offerings, and for your peace offerings. So Moses told the people of Israel everything just as the Lord had commanded Moses. Chapter 30, Men and Vows. Moses spoke to the heads of the tribes of the people of Israel, saying, "This is what the Lord has commanded. If a man vows a vow to the Lord or swears an oath to bind himself by a pledge, he shall not break his word. He shall do according to all that proceeds out of his mouth." Women and vows. If a woman vows a vow to the Lord and binds herself by a pledge while within her father's house in her youth, and her father hears of her vow and of her pledge by which she has bound herself and says nothing to her, then all her vows shall stand, and every pledge by which she has bound herself shall stand. But if her father opposes her on the day that he hears it, no vow of hers, no pledge by which she has bound herself shall stand, and the Lord will forgive her because her father opposed her. If she marries a husband while under her vows, or any thoughtless utterance of her lips by which she has bound herself, and her husband hears of it and says nothing to her on the day that he hears, then her vows shall stand, and her pledges by which she has bound herself shall stand. But if on the day that her husband comes to hear of it, he opposes her, then he makes void her vow that was on her, and the thoughtless utterance of her lips by which she bound herself. And the Lord will forgive her. And if she vowed in her husband's house, or bound herself by a pledge with an oath, and her husband heard of it and said nothing to her and did not oppose her, then all her vows shall stand, and every pledge by which she bound herself shall stand. But if her husband makes them null and void on the day that he hears them, then whatever proceeds out of her lips concerning her vows or concerning her pledge of herself shall not stand. Her husband has made them void, and the Lord will forgive her. Any vow and any binding oath to afflict herself, her husband may establish, or her husband may make void. But if her husband says nothing to her from day to day, then he establishes all her vows on all her pledges that are upon her. He has established them because he has said nothing to her on the day that he heard them. But if he makes them null and void, and after he has heard of them, then he shall bear her iniquity. These are the statutes that the Lord commanded Moses about a man and his wife, about a father and his daughter, while she is in her youth within her father's house. You know, I've never been called the greatest feminist on the world, but if you want one more thing to question about the Old Testament is the amazing second-class citizen at best that they treat women, their daughters, their wives, their sisters. You know, in earlier chapters, they were trading them like cattle. Yeah. So again, I feel bad. You know, being down about what I'm reading. And I get people hopping on my show all the time saying I should read the Quran. And honestly, I would imagine what I'm reading and what I read to you tonight is something I would have expected out of the Quran. And I maybe am ignorant of the Islamic faith or what have you. But I just Again, chapter 29 was a long list of sacrifices made to the Lord in terms of what animals they're going to slaughter. And I'm looking forward to the end of the Old Testament and honestly don't see any value in it so far. So anyway, I want to thank you so much for joining me tonight and listening to chapter 29 and 30 from the book of Numbers. I hope you have enjoyed tonight's reading. And I'm sorry about my past. I'm just being honest, though. I just don't see how anyone can read what I've been reading and find any value from it at all. At all. So I want to thank you so much for joining. I hope you have had a great week, a good start to your weekend. You get a great night's sleep. You are feeling good. You are loving yourself. You are forgiving yourself. And as always, I hope to talk to you soon. Bye-bye.